Nairobi. The Algerian Parliament has voted overwhelmingly to adopt a constitutional reform, such as term limits for the president and making the Berber language spoken by a significant minority of the country an official language with the same standing as Arabic. But is this the big change that appears to be on paper? The BBC's North Africa correspondent Rana Jawad reports.
A sweeping majority of Algeria's lawmakers have now reinstated presidential term limits and, in theory, granted greater powers to the parliament. The latest amendments will also officially institutionalize Tamazight, the language of its indigenous Amazigh population. Observers believe the latest changes, including last year's dismissal of Algeria's longest-serving head of intelligence, are preparing for a smoother transition of power by addressing some political and social grievances. In Algeria, this is largely a reference to limiting the traditional clout of the Secret Service and, to a lesser extent, the army on the state's political actors. President Bouteflika was re-elected in 2014 for a fourth term, but he has rarely been seen in public since he suffered a stroke. Both his health and the regional military and social turmoil in recent years are fueling a shift in power bases to maintain some stability. But the greater test for Algeria will be the implementation and effectiveness of these reforms. Rana Jawad, BBC News, Tunis.
Well, let's discuss this story further. With me is Mohamed Zitout, a former Algerian diplomat and founder of the Rashad movement. Thanks for joining us. How significant are these reforms?
Not really significant. They are, generally speaking, cosmetic amendments, although it touched nearly the two-thirds of the constitution. This is a new constitution, in fact. It's not just amendment to the previous one. And except maybe one or two elements, which is new there, all the rest, it's not really what Algerians were expecting.
But the standout thing here is, the standout point here is the fact that presidential term limits, which were removed in 2008, have now been reinstated.
Yeah, and that's, even with that, the very old man, the sick man as he's called today,
President Bouteflika, we haven't seen him in a while.
President Bouteflika can stay in power till 2029. He can run another 2 terms, although he's not able to walk, he can talk, he talks through a microphone, he hears through a machine, and the more problem, he's in a wheelchair. 79 years old in 3 weeks' time. And even with that, this is the problem of African, honestly, this is the problem of African presidents. But everyone wants to extend his power and to stay in power
but just
as
how
long
much,
as he can.
Just how much support will these reforms get for him within Algeria?
Yeah, from those who are benefiting from this situation, from corruption, from all this terrible situation, yes, of course, he gets 5%, maybe 10%, more or less. But from the vast majority of the Algerians, they are extremely upset about that they wait many years. They have been told that they will see different things in this constitution. But let me tell you another thing, in fact. The problem in Algeria and in many other African countries, it has never been the constitution. It's the implementation of the law, of the constitution itself.
We don't have much time, Mohamed. I need to ask you this question. With the last 3 years, we've seen how the landscape, political landscape in Northern Africa has changed with the Arab Spring and what have you. Where does Algeria fit into this landscape today?
It's in a terrible and messy situation, and unfortunately we are moving to a dangerous situation. It's not excluded that we find ourselves in a la Libyan situation or a la Syrian even situation, which is, of course, it's feared, it's scaring, but unfortunately they are pushing the situation to it. We don't understand why, they don't understand from history, just the recent history and just from their colleagues, Mubarak or Gaddafi or Bashar, but they don't learn.
Mohamed Zitout, thank you very much for coming in to speak to us today.